Well, it's that time again. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Bounty Hunting Across the Galaxy with Todd and Ken. And this episode is going to be a continuation of our last episode where we started playing the name game using Star Wars characters. And don't worry, if you've never played the name game before and you don't know what we're talking about, it'll make sense in a little bit. But excuse me for a moment while I punch that intro button.
Todd and Ken, they hit the scene. Galaxy far ain't a distant dream. Kyber hearts and saber beams. The name game's here to shake the theme. Name the name, test your brain. X-wings fly through the rebel strain. Falcon dives through the starry flame. Todd and Ken play the name game.
All right, Ken, that's fantastic. Oh, I jumped ahead there a little bit. Sorry.
No worries, you got to get that little bitty chunk in there.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession. This is Bounty Hunting Across the Galaxy.
All right, let's try that again. I jumped the intro. I'm surprised. I'm usually pretty good about that, but
Well, it wouldn't be one of our shows if there wasn't some sort of a hiccup, glitch, whatever.
That's right. That's right. So, what have you been up to, Ken?
So, as goofy as this might sound, I've been spending a bunch of time rewatching Andor. I think I'm up to like 3 times with every episode. It's remarkable. I really enjoyed that show.
So I haven't rewatched it yet, but I'm kind of like savoring in the initial bath of the season. So I'm really excited. I'm gonna go back and start watching it again. Time has been kind of an issue. I've been focusing on a lot of stuff lately. So in-house, out-of-house, work stuff, stuff like that. Unfortunately, not the fun Star Wars stuff.
And what is have there been the biggest takeaways from Andor for you?
I mean, Andor wrapped up everything like to a T. Everything that you kind of really had a question about how the Republic, the Rebellion went from just these scattered groups into one cohesive force. I mean, they kind of spelled it all out in that show. The dynamic between Andor and the other characters, and especially Luthen Rael, all the stuff that went on, it was amazing. The story was just great.
I'd say stories, because I think with Andor, and I'm a lover of all of Star Wars, but this show in particular had so many interwoven stories from Luthen Rael to Cinta and Vel to Mon Mothma and Perrin and Takova, and like just it's incredible. And I described Andor to Mike a little while ago as a braided rope. Some of these strings are longer than others, some of these strings are thicker than others, but there's so much weaving in and out from all of them, and it's quite remarkable that they were able to get that many storylines with that many characters into just 12 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, essentially there were 4 main characters, storylines throughout the whole thing, but of course, even those 4 main people or story arcs had so many spiders that webbed out and webbed back in and brought back together. It took better skill than me for plot writing, that's for sure.
If we go way back in time, would you have ever imagined that Mon Mothma as a character would have been so complete, would have been so deep and robust?
No, actually, no, absolutely not. I mean, she didn't even show up in A New Hope. So for her to be almost a supporting character in the second half of the trilogy, I know there's thirds, but the second half of the trilogy and then to bring her back around to create such an in-depth character. I mean, the things that she gave up for the rebellion, the, all the things that she sacrificed, it'd be the right word. She sacrificed just to get the rebellion off the ground. I mean, and the story that went with it. You know, not to
Yeah,
give too much away, but she literally gave up her family to fund the rebellion.
her family, her career, her in some instances you could almost say identity, but then she took on a newer or a different identity once she went, full blown rebellion.
Yeah,
Almost like a caterpillar blossoming into a moth or a butterfly or something like that. Where when you look at them side by side, it's almost like two different creatures.
yeah, yeah. And all I gotta say, I mean, like, poor Cyril, he went through it in that show.
Well, so many people you could say that to, like poor fill in the blank, whether it's poor Vel, poor Luthen Rail. I mean, his speech that he gave in season one,
Yeah,
coupled with the flashbacks that we got in season two, and this guy went through some stuff.
yeah,
You
oh
know,
yeah. And I mean, the speech that Mon Mothma gave, just to go back to her in front of the Senate, I mean, that was ridiculous. I never expected that much, that big of a speech for her to leave the Senate. I mean, I always knew there was a speech, but I never, like, it was deep.
Yeah, to hear the words and see the delivery of those words, and then on the nerd side to see the behind the scenes where it was Mon Mothma in one of those Senate pods and blue screens around her, and
Yeah,
nobody else. I mean, it's quite amazing how all of those pieces went into play to have that rousing, emotional, powerful speech delivered by a character like you said was only in the second two-thirds of the original trilogy, and now this character is, I would say, is like a fan favorite. She's one of those unexpected gems that has been wonderful to see put out there.
well, and the one thing that I thought of, um, you see little glimpse of the Senate in Andor as it builds up, but you don't really have that. The last time that we were really in the Senate chamber and hearing a speech was when Palpatine was giving the Jedi left me disfigured, and that's when he was getting to rename the Republic into the First Galactic Empire, and then timeline wise, the next big speech that we see is this one from Mon Mothma, and what a difference in tone from one to the other. You
Well,
know,
even in attention. So when you look at that speech that you're talking about with Palpatine, the seats were full. But
yeah,
then when you look at it when Mon Mothma was there, they weren't as populated. It's almost as if, senators stopped showing up, or
yeah,
or whatever. And she still delivered that that incredible speech, putting her, in the crosshairs.
and the people were leaving while she was giving the speech. That was when Palpatine gave his speech, everybody rose and cheered and was excited. And when Mon Mothma gave this speech about how corrupt the system was, and you know how devastatingly terrible it was, everybody was like, she doesn't know what she's talking about,
Yeah.
and just took off. It,
And some of those people, she had worked with on different pieces of legislation, and
yeah,
worked building these relationships to get things to happen across the galaxy, and to see the tone of it change, to see the attitudes of the senators change, where it was a group and now it's, separate groups. Some people worship or support the emperor, and then other people, they keep their voices low so they don't stand out. But then you've got Mon Mothma, this larger than what became a larger than life character. And I never in a million lifetimes would have imagined, you know if you told me as a kid that Mon Mothma was going to be important, I'm like, yeah, you're kidding. She doesn't carry a lightsaber. She doesn't fight in any wars, and I don't know if it's because I've just become an older, more mature, fan or whatever. But I think she is quite amazing as a character, and the actress is even more remarkable.
Oh yeah, she did an amazing job. Amazing. I'm ready to watch it again. I just haven't I haven't gotten there yet,
Yeah, it's like from watching it the first time, it's that kind of show where it's you watch the show, you don't
Yep.
watch the show and write emails, you don't watch the show and paint minifigures. You got to pay attention
You
because there's
gotta pay attention. It's
so much
crazy.
to see and hear. Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you added anything to your collection since the last time we got together?
Yeah, so this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, there are these two stores that are fairly close to us. And when I say fairly close, probably within 15 miles or so. One is called Shoreline Vintage and Antiques. The other one is called Farpoint Toys and Collectibles. And they do this summertime and autumn time toy show where they just have vendors show up. It's a free to go to event. It's almost like a flea market / yard sale with multiple people selling multiple things. And so a couple things that I picked up, even though I said that 2025 was going to be the year I didn't get anything, unfortunately I got a lot of things. And my friend I'll start off with the things I got from the toy show. So
Okay.
I picked up a couple more Jar Jars.
Nice.
Including this one. This one is pretty fun. This is on the Power of the Force line.
Oh, that's very cool.
And in the bottom of the case, there's this little droid here, all folded up. And the last time I went up to Mike Hinton's, he gave me this folded up 3D printed life-size droid. So that's one of the props that I'm going to be working on this summer. So this is the cool inspiration for it. It's a static thing. You just set it on the corner or whatever. And I don't know if you can see behind me very well, but those are the figures that Mike painted of us.
Very cool. Very cool.
And then I also picked up the George Lucas family set. So it's Senator Papanoida there, Jet, his son, and then his two daughters in their cameo roles from the prequel trilogy.
That's pretty cool.
And then my friend Keith from work sold me a bunch of magazines and Star Wars fan club paraphernalia, including a Ralph McQuarrie. Let me see if I can grab it real quick. Where did I put it? Yeah, it's been a I'm going to change my headphones real quick. Hold on one moment.
That's okay. You do what you need to do.
Can you still hear me okay?
I can still hear you. You're good. Very nice.
You can hear me okay?
Yep, I can still hear you.
Okay, let's see if I can.
Oh, there was something.
Yeah. Hold on one sec. I think that's... Let's try.
Dying headphones. All right.
I am not hearing you at all.
You're not hearing me at all?
I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. You sound really fuzzy, though. I'm just going to tell you.
Can you hear me, though?
I can hear you, but you're really fuzzy at the moment.
Oh,
you're like really broken up.
How about now? Is that different?
That's a little better.
That's a little better.
Oh, there you go. Now you got it. Whatever you did, it works.
But I also got this portfolio, this Ralph McQuarrie portfolio.
Oh, look at that.
And it's filled with these it's like show and tell at Ken's house.
Right? Oh, look at those.
Yeah, so these fantastic
Some of the
prints.
concept arts. That's pretty cool.
I think I broke it.
You think you broke it?
Yeah, I can't hear you at all.
Oh no. I'm still here. I'm still here. So while you're kind of messing with that, um, and getting your sound straight, what I did is, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I was trying to cover for you a little bit.
Oh, thank you.
So I didn't actually buy anything new in the past month, but I did create my own lightsaber. So my wife is big into crochet, and I kind of do it from time to time just to, well, it was one of those, I wanted to see if I could do it. I saw somebody online that made one. Um, so I decided to make one with some of her help, of course. But it's pretty thick. So I'm actually working on a second one that's going to be a little thinner, make it actual sword lightsaber sized.
That's
This
pretty
is
cool.
this is more like an oversized, like a almost like a Lego lightsaber size. But that's the only thing that I really did Star Wars for this month. Um, as far as acquisitions, I got like I said, I got more stuff to make another one. Actually, I got more stuff to make several, so I'm going to make different colors.
Oh, with the same hilt, or are you gonna have different hilts as well?
Different hilts. They're they are all one piece,
Okay.
so there's no coming apart at this point. So I'm going to make another one. I have, let's see, I got blue yarn, red, of course, purple. I have orange, and then I have a, what's the other one that I have? I have like a gold color, I think, like a yellow.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
So I'm gonna make another one, and this is kind of my, like, I need a break from everything hobby.
Yeah.
Typical my kind of thing. Even when I'm not doing something, I'm doing something. But um, yeah, I got a couple dowels. It's just a wooden dowel in the center of it, but of course it's flexible. It's fairly flexible, but it's enough that it'll hold it together. And then it's packed with insulation.
Oh,
So
that's very cool.
yeah, so you could hit somebody with it. It doesn't really hurt.
Oh, almost like a LARPing sword.
Correct. Correct.
That's
Correct.
very cool.
So there may be a maybe if I get crafty enough, maybe I'll get to do a Jedi cloak or something in crochet too, and just with help, of course.
Well, not that you need it, but I've also seen people who've crocheted beards.
Yeah, yeah,
So it goes with a hat.
right, right. Yeah, I figure that'd be a good costume for some Comic Con or something like that,
Oh, that's awesome.
just to be silly. You
That's
know,
very cool.
you
Yeah, I've
can't be a
seen people crochet like baby Yoda, Yoda dolls, or like 2 foot
yeah,
Mandos and stuff like that.
yeah. I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
I
4 foot sword is a good start.
That right, right. Um, I actually just my wife left a blanket that she didn't she started and then set aside to do other stuff, and I'm like, I was at one point I was like, well, let me just do a couple and see how much I can mess it up, and I did, but it looks okay, and I finished it, and then she edged the thing and made it look actually square. So um, then I figured I'd try this. This is only my second project.
That's awesome.
And my other blanket is big enough for a king size bed, so
Sheesh.
it took me close to 2 years too. So there's
My
no big
word.
rush.
Yeah, my grandmom used to do quilts and those patchwork Afghans where she'd make a million squares and then put the squares together and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yep, the granny squares. My wife does those too. That's
And
beyond my skill set.
she'd be doing them all the time. Like it'd be the middle of July, and she'd be sitting up by the the barbecue grill, or hanging out with friends or whatever. She's just over there crocheting or knitting away or whatever, and then next thing you know, she's got 4 blankets made.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other
Yeah.
fun thing that occurred recently, at those 2 shows, there was this guy that I met. His name is Tom, and he runs TMJ Design Co. And
Okay.
he does these like stickers and prints that are like classic tattoo designs, but he does them in like all sorts of different, pop culture images,
Yeah.
including like the Jendy Tartovsky um, Star Wars figures and everything like that. So I met him at that show, and I may actually set up an interview with him at some point. He was a really, really cool guy. I must have spent 35 minutes talking with him about Andor. So
That's
that was
very
a lot of
cool.
fun.
Well, I actually lied because one of the guys that I work with, he went to Fan Expo. What was that, last weekend?
Mhm.
And he brought me home, like he brought me back like 3 or 4 Star Wars stickers. So I do have
Oh, very
those.
cool. That's awesome.
So I didn't get a chance to go, uh, you know, but he brought me home stickers, and he actually met the Mandos that were there and stuff like that, and
Oh,
was walking
cool.
around getting stuff. So
Yeah, Mike said that he and Safi went up. I can't remember which day it was. They went up for a couple hours. He dressed in his sand trooper, and Safi was he was their either her Fallout character or one of the I want to say Hell Divers or something like that.
oh,
She
okay.
made she made a costume out of EVA foam, so the two of them went and trooped together and just had a good old time. They got to hang out with Keith and Kerwin from Father Son Galaxy podcast and stuff. They said it was a good time.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I got to get my head back into the game. I also started working on fixing my loincloth for my Mando kit,
Yeah.
because as wacky as it is to say this out loud, my cod piece broke.
Yeah.
So like my full complete official kit's not done, so I need a replacement for that, and I've decided to go with a loincloth. But what I want to do is have like a diamond sort of shape, where the cod piece would be, to give it some sort of armor-esque look to it.
There you
So
go. That'll
so I
look
was
cool.
working on that earlier today, after we came back from watching Lilo and Stitch. So
Very nice.
yeah, so it's
Very
been,
nice.
even though it's been about a month since we got together to do our show, it's been a month filled with stuff.
Yeah, it has been.
It's funny because when we recorded last, we only made it through the first half of the alphabet.
I know. I know.
It's
And
like,
we were we were over an hour. I shouldn't say well over an hour, but we were
which is
over an hour at that point, and I don't know, it was getting kind of late, and
yes. And to be honest, this is kind of weird for me. I mean, I usually don't record shows this early in the day. Normally I'm recording at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So to be recording while the sun's still up is quite a funny thing.
yeah, it's
This
a little
holiday's
different.
giving us a little bit of extra time.
Yep. No, and it's good because we're definitely staying on schedule. I want to stay on that once a month as much as we can.
Yeah, I agree. Getting that rhythm up, and I don't remember. I didn't check how many subscribers we have on this show, on this particular YouTube feed, but I'm officially up to 11 subscribers on my Rambling Star Wars fan YouTube. So that's pretty
Nice.
exciting.
Very
I've cracked
nice.
the double digits and one step closer to 1,977 subscribers.
Hold on, I can check in a second here. We are at 24 subscribers currently.
That's awesome. Making moves, my friend.
So,
Making moves.
yeah, yeah. It's good. Actually, with the boys and we just cracked 52.
That's awesome.
52 subscribers, and with Table Ready I'm in the 30s. So we're doing good. Doing good. And I think,
That's awesome.
to be honest with you, I think YouTube is working so much better than the podcast is,
Oh
as
yeah.
far as Spotify and stuff like that,
Okay.
because I'm not getting the growth that I would like from the podcast. So I think moving up to YouTube's amazing. I'm going to continue to support it on Spotify and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I definitely, I think the YouTube move was definitely a good idea.
Well, for you, much of your stuff is visual anyway. Whether
Yeah,
you're showing the pieces that you're working on or you're interacting back and forth. I've seen a couple of your shows, and you've got a handful of folks that will be there interacting with you and commenting or asking questions along the way. So it's definitely, I think YouTube helps you be that much more interactive. The chats come in instead of recording something and just posting it out there as an audio thing in terms of the podcast. So I'm so
yeah,
glad that it's working well for you.
yeah. The visual thing is definitely working out so much better. So that's good. All right. So, we'll have to work on our schedule for next month, but we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I have faith in us. The force is strong in this family, that's for sure.
Right.
And
But I
so we go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, I was just gonna say I think this is a good time to get back into our game.
Yeah, you're definitely reading my mind. And we finished up. You had given me Darth Maul, and just for folks who this might be the first episode that they listen to about the name game. So the name game is this round or this how do you describe it? A game in the round. I say something, you say something, and we go back and forth. And in
Right.
this case, we follow through the English alphabet. We started with A, naming a character. The other person gives a fact about that character, and then uses the next letter in the alphabet to give a character to the first person. So you had ended the last episode giving me Darth Maul, and I talked about that Dathomirian Zabrak. So I'm going to start off with N and
Okay.
give you, of all characters, Jocasta Nu.
Well, Jocasta Nu is an interesting character. She was the chief librarian of the Jedi Archives and keeper of the holocrons. And for as long as she was in the Jedi Order, she never was a master. But I think one of the most interesting parts about her story is whether its legends are canon. In both cases, she was killed by Darth Vader.
And I think in one of those cases, she actually used a lightsaber to make a rifle.
I believe so, yes.
So a lightsaber powered, kyber crystal powered rifle blaster. So
Right.
she was quite an interesting lady, that's for sure, and a little snarky. I think she, was kind of a little wisecracker with Obi-Wan Kenobi when they were in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, well, yeah, he lost the planet. I mean, come on. What else do you say to that? All right. Um, how about for O, we'll go with Omega or Omega, depending on
Oh,
your pronunciation.
depending on which accent you use at any given time.
Right.
So this character was a human clone. She was born on Kamina. She was born on Camino. In fact, she was in the same batch as Boba Fett, for Clone Force 99, and the thousands of other clones. She was voiced by Michelle Ang, who's from New Zealand, and Michelle Ang was a huge departure from all the rest of the clones who were voiced by D. Bradley Baker on the Clone Wars and the other animated shows. So you gave me an O name, I get to give you a P name,
All
and we'll
right.
go with Baron Papanoida.
Oh, Baron Papanoida. Well, I mean, Baron Papanoida, he's George Lucas. I mean, in all intents and purposes, he was based off of George Lucas. George Lucas actually played him, and even his children were based off of George Lucas's children. And I thought the pretty interesting part about the whole thing, I mean, he was in Revenge of the Sith and he was in the Clone Wars cartoon. But the interesting thing that I thought about was uh, Papanoia was a playwright and then eventually led an entertainment empire, much like George Lucas.
Yeah, I think they were a little inspired for that character. And, I was showing you some of the stuff that I picked up, and I thought it was really, really funny that this is the set that I happened to get. And on the back, It has little, some better pictures of the characters, and we can see right
Oh yeah.
here our buddy George,
Right. Right.
his blue or
Very
his
cool.
blue makeup and everything like that. So it was the Force guided me to pick up this one while we were out and about.
Right. Very. That's perfect. Perfect timing, right? So the next one, Q, right? PQ. That would be. I'm going to go with Kira from the Han Solo, from the Solo
Oh, okay.
story.
So Amelia Clark, that character.
Correct.
When they were working on that character, originally it was going to be spelled with a K, and they were actually, from what I remember, I thought they were going to use that character for what ultimately became Ray, but instead they went a different route. And to your point, yep, she was on Corellia with our buddy Han before he got the last name of Solo, and she worked with Darth Maul and Dryden Voss as part of Crimson Dawn. It's this crime syndicate that played a big role in the last few years in the comic books. She also was one of these practitioners of a Star Wars martial art called Terras Kasi.
Right.
That's what she ended up using to kill Dryden Voss. Spoiler warning for those of you who haven't seen Solo.
You're
This
giving
one
all the
almost a
secrets
decade.
away.
Yeah, no, really. So you gave me a Q. I'm going to give you an R. And here's a fun one. I just like saying the name. Apo Rancisis.
Oppo Rancisis. He's a Jedi Master from quite a long time ago, if I remember correctly. Even for Star Wars time. Uh, but though I think he lives an incredibly long time. In fact, he lived through the Galactic War and even past the Galactic War. And so there's even rumors that, if I remember correctly, he might still be alive at the time of the First Order and stuff like that. He had the very specific ability of being able to use battle meditation, which very few Jedi Masters could ever learn and use, which is an ability that extends out to the entire battlefield, all your troops, all the people that are working, and actually gives them a almost a singular focus in battle. And because of that, he was a very skilled strategist in general.
And he was an odd character in terms of he was part humanoid and then part snake, if I remember. Like he was.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was a very interesting character, and I guess they don't even know how long. Not his race is really long lived, but he through the Force has lived exponentially longer, and for all the stuff that he went through. So he's one of the few Jedi that really went through the purge and nobody found him. It was very interesting.
I wonder if
I
he's going
like,
to pop up somewhere.
yeah, yeah. When they figure out how to CGI him, right?
Well, they did that really great snake in Rise of Skywalker.
Oh,
So
yeah,
maybe they
that's
could use
true.
some of that technology.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure if anybody can do it, uh, we'll get it. If they figure out that they want to do it, they will do it. There's no doubt about that. So, from I got S. Well, I'm actually going to give you one of my favorite video game characters, and he and without giving out too much information, this is going to be Star Killer.
So Star Killer, video game character, secret apprentice of Darth Vader. That was his code name, Star Killer. His
Correct.
real name, his given name, was Galen Merrick. He was from the two different Force Unleashed video games, and of all of the people in all of the world that voiced him, it's our buddy Sam Witwer. And when you look at Sam Witwer, a picture of Sam Witwer, and you put it next to a picture from of Star Killer from the video game, there's a really close 1-to-1 match. And Sam Witwer voiced Darth Maul in the
Right.
anime Clone Wars and Rebels. He recently voiced one of the characters in Andor, and he's been I think he was in a couple of the live action um, stories, Rogue One specifically,
Yeah.
as voices and stuff like that. So he's a Star Wars encyclopedia. Leland Shee has the holocron and all the information in a database. Sam Witwer has his brain and all the random bits and pieces
Yeah.
throughout all of Star Wars history.
He's amazing because he has so much stuff stuffed up in his brain that's Star Wars related. He would I would like to see a good conversation between you and him. See who knows more.
Well, see, I think he would definitely beat me only because he has the benefit, well, not only because, but because he has the benefit of having been side by side, shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow with George, with Filoni, with all of these people. And so
Right.
he'd have the background stories and, could help make those connections far better than I could. But I tell you what, he's one of those people that I could probably listen to for hours and hours, whether he's telling stories about the making of Star Wars or, to your point, talking about the lore and this character did this and this character did that and this is the ship they flew and they went to this planet and stuff. Yeah, he seems to be a very enthusiastic Star Wars super fan, that's for sure.
Right. And yet there's going to be another Maul series with his voice.
Yeah, that's going to be great, and it's in the Clone Wars animation style,
Yeah.
so it's wild. And from what I've heard so far, it's going to be pretty intense. And one of the rumors, and I don't know if this has been confirmed or not, but one of the rumors is um, Darth Talon is going to make an appearance.
I heard that. That would be interesting.
You know, but that's not the T I'm going to use. I'm not using Darth Talon for my
Oh,
choice.
I was gonna say
Instead,
that would have been an easy giveaway right there.
yeah, instead I'm going to do a different T, and I'm going to have you talk about Mother Talzin.
Mother Talzin. So, Mother Talzin is from Dathomir. She is a Night Sister witch. In fact, the cultural leader of the Night Sisters on Dathomir. She is also the original mother of Darth Maul and Savage Opress. Um, she was she's the one that gave Maul his legs back after that unfortunate accident on Naboo. Um,
Pesky
un-
Jedi.
yeah, right. They're like insects. You just can't get rid of them. Um, but um, she she led the Night Sisters from Dathomir for a very long time, and eventually they were all defeated by General Grievous and the Separatist armies. Um, and of course, that was also blamed on the Jedi and the Republic. So to push them out of the war or push them onto the Separatist side, or to push other people into the Separatist way of life. So, yeah, again, amazing story arc in Clone Wars with the Night Sisters. If you want to get into that, it was those episodes were pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I think we saw a little bit of that in, was it Tales? Not Tales of the Jedi. Was it Tales of the Sith or Tales of the Empire?
It might have
One
been
of
Tales
those
of
two
the Empire,
episodes.
yeah, yeah. There was some of that because it was part of. Oh, I can't think of her name. The witch that helped.
Morgan Elsbeth.
Yeah, Morgan Elsbeth. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I couldn't think of the name. Yeah, there was some of that in Tales of the Empire with the death.
It continues to amaze me. So here we are coming up on 50, 40, 48 years of Star Wars stuff, and we've got Jedi and Sith and witches and Ewoks and Wookiees, and there's figuratively no end to the amount of creativity and cultures that can be explored and all the interworkings of them. So you've got, Mother Telson, who you said was the mother of Savage and Darth Maul, and she was also involved in helping train um, Asajj Ventress, and even to the point of in the last Tales of the Underworld, we got to hear her voice again when Ventress came back to life, when she was resurrected from those pools on Dathomir.
Yeah,
So even though she's one with the Force, I think there's still a lot of room for more stories with or of or about Mother Talzin. I don't think we've seen or heard the last of her yet.
yeah, and the Dathomir witches. There's a long-standing history of them, not only in the Clone Wars, but also in some of the video games and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
like the Cal Kestis ones, the Jedi Survivor ones.
yep, Jedi Survivor, and they were also in Jedi Galaxies. If you've
Oh
ever
yeah.
played that, that was a long way back. You actually had to travel. Once you mastered your class, you could travel to Dathomir to become a Jedi and train at the village.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and I don't remember if Mother Talzin was there, but there were definitely Night Sisters.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So from T to U, I'm gonna say one of my favorite to pronounce at least is Aurora. Yes, and it's not a sound a Jedi make or a Wookiee makes. It's
Okay. Sounds like you're
actually
trying to start your car. If my
the
memory serves me properly, you said this wasn't a Wookiee.
nope. It's
Um,
not a Wookiee.
this is a Tusken. This is a Tusken warrior
Correct.
that we first saw on Tatooine, and this is the Tusken warrior who was attacking Luke out there when Luke was hunting for R2D2, and the actor underneath the mask was our buddy Peter Diamond. Peter Diamond was also a stunt coordinator, stunt choreographer, and he was one of the folks that helped design and develop some of the original lightsaber styles that we saw way back in 1977's A New Hope. So, and I think it's when you look at this name, let's spell it out loud. URRORRU apostrophe R. So
Yeah,
that's where I guess where you get the r
that's
sounding like.
right. Just like an old carbureted engine.
Yes, yes. Not one of these fancy push button start kind of Jedi.
Right.
So, so let's go from U to V, and how about Tor Vizsla?
So Tor Vizsla, and this is something that we're going to have to talk about in the future. But Tor Vizsla was a Mandalorian. You might recognize the name from our Jango Fett episode, and if you haven't watched it, you should go back and listen to it. I don't. That one wasn't on YouTube, but you can catch that on podcast if I remember correctly. But he was the first leader of the Death Watch faction, and of course, in typical Mandalorian way, Death Watch was more of the aggressive. We need to go back to our honorable fighting ways, where the true Mandalorians, who they were fighting against, were looking for peace at the time. And I would say that probably the Death Watch was more right, even though I'd like the peaceful ones to be more right sometimes.
Yeah, this guy was also, if my memory serves me, wasn't he related to Paz Vizsla?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, okay, just like the great grandfather or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many grades are in there, but it's definitely a couple steps away. I think it was. Wait, was that 3,000 BBY or? I'd have to look at my notes to be sure.
Yeah, I gotta look at my
It
notes
was
too.
way back there. Way back there. So, but definitely interesting. The Vizsla clan is, of course, one of the main clans left on Mandalore at this time, or the Mandalorians at this time. So, from V to W, I'm going to give you the strange one of Wat Tambor, and that's not a question.
What? What? So this guy was a member of the Techno Union, and he had a very, very brief role in Revenge of the Sith. He was actually one of the separatists that was on Mustafar and was annihilated by um, Anakin Skywalker shortly after he became Darth Vader. Palpatine sent him out to Dathom, no, not Dathom, sorry, Mustafar, the lava planet, to destroy all the separatist leaders. And that was one of his first missions as Darth Vader. So Wat Tambor was this green-headed, goggled-wearing, garbly-sounding character on Mustafar.
That's right.
So you've given me Wat Tambor, which is a real fun name to say, that's for sure.
Yeah, and he's the one that he had to dial in like an old AM radio while he was talking.
Yeah, this chess box, like the translator thing or whatever.
Right, in Attack of the Clones and in Revenge of the Sith.
That's right, I forgot he was in that. There was like a planning scene, wasn't there?
Yep.
On Geonosis?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. That escaped my mind until you mentioned it. We're getting close to the end of the alphabet, so how about Kazuto Ziono? I apologize if I'm pronouncing his last name wrong.
No, that's fine, because you probably do better than me. Kaz, for short, he was a human male pilot and a spy for the Resistance in the Resistance animated show. He was actually voiced by Christopher Sean, and he also did some other work for Star Wars Visions. I only watched a little bit of Star Wars Resistance, so I'm not super familiar, but I had to do a little research for this one myself, Are you still there, buddy? Uh-oh. I think we lost you all together. So, as I was saying, yeah, I don't think you have any sound. No mic.
Still no mic?
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
Now you came back. I was just going to send you a message here, get us back on
Ken
track.
running the show.
Well, what's an online show without some kind of technical difficulties, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, as I said, Kaz, Christopher Sean, he did a lot of voice work for Star Wars Visions as well. If you didn't hear me on that, I didn't watch a lot of the Resistance show, so I actually had to look this one up. This is a weird one, at least for me.
Yeah, this one was weird for a couple reasons. Number one, it was in a different time. This was during the sequel trilogy time.
Correct.
And it was at a time when they decided to go with yet another animation style. So Star Wars Clone Wars and Star Wars Clone Wars was more the 3D animation kind of stuff.
Right.
Then when they got to Rebels, the inspiration for Star Wars Rebels was Ralph McQuarrie paintings, the original stuff that they used to get Star Wars going. In Star Wars Resistance, they used more like an anime kind of style.
Yeah.
And they only had 2 seasons of it, I think. I hope they figure out a way of picking up on it, because like I said, it was during that sequel trilogy time, and there's still a lot of room for great stories in there.
Oh, I'm waiting for somebody to fill some of those gaps. I mean, I know like Ahsoka and The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett are kind of in there, but like I just want some lower views, you know what I'm saying? Not like these big, and I guess they're not really big target things, but they feel big target now.
Yeah.
So
and one of the great things about it, they had pirates, they had fighter pilots or race pilots and stuff like that. So it was great room for stories that are affected by the Empire or the First Order, but not necessarily directly influenced by. So it's you can have these wonderful, so like Andor, sort of. You have all these side stories that you don't need a Jedi necessarily. You don't need big battle scenes, but there are great character pieces or great ways to make the universe even larger and deeper than it already is.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I didn't watch a whole lot of that. The animation style was it wasn't bad. It was just different from what I'm used to, and it was a little off-putting for me. But the story wasn't bad. What I watched, it just was not my cup of tea.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm sure it's something that I'll go back to at some point, but of course, it's probably quite a few years old at this point too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting up there, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I guess I'll have to take another look sooner than later. All right. So how about for why? We'll go with. Nah, I won't give you the easy one of Yoda. How about we go with Yaddle?
It's kind of Yoda. It's Yoda adjacent. It's
right?
the same species as
Correct.
that famous Jedi Master. Same species as Grogu. Sadly, this character, who was also a Jedi Master, was actually killed by Count Dooku during the Tales of the Jedi. It was a 6-episode arc, 3 episodes about Ahsoka Tano, 3 episodes about Count Dooku, and in one of those episodes, Count Dooku, right in front of Sheev Palpatine, killed Yaddle on the planet Coruscant. So we don't really get to know lots about her, other than that she was like Yoda in terms of lived for a very, very, very long time and served as a Jedi Master. So she made her way up through the Jedi ranks to become a Master.
Yeah.
And slain on Coruscant.
Yeah.
Because so we started last episode with Admiral Akbar, and we're going to end this episode with Z, and I'm going to give you the bounty hunter Zuckuss.
Ooh, Zuckuss is a very interesting one. So his race is called the Gand, and he specifically is a force-sensitive bounty hunter. He's partnered up with the mech Forlom, and then you see them right there in the Star Destroyer scene in Empire Strikes Back, where all the bounty hunters are lined up, and the no disintegration line. But I'll tell you what, I think maybe we should do a whole episode on him. How do you feel about that? Instead of
what if we did the dynamic duo of Zuckuss and 4LOM?
Yeah, because there's a lot of story there that we could really get into. Because he was force sensitive and he did have this interesting interaction between the Empire and 4LOM. I think he would make a really great episode.
That could work.
Right.
It'd keep us on brand.
Right.
Right. Bounty hunting across the galaxy thing.
That's right. So we won't dive too far into Zuckuss at this point, but we're gonna come back around to him. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, actually.
So,
I gotta say, I'm quite amazed that for what started off as a silly idea of playing the Star Wars name game, or the name game with Star Wars,
right?
We managed to fill almost 2 hours of time talking about 26 different characters across the entire span of Star Wars history.
Yeah, I know, but we've done it before. We've picked it. I mean, we spent over an hour talking about Greedo, who spent less than 2 minutes of screen time on A New Hope. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility with us at this point.
Yeah, that's a good call there. That's for sure. I'm so glad that you were willing to play this game with me. It's been a lot of fun. That's for darn sure.
Absolutely, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Ken. I think I think we have a good dynamic between the two of us, and I think that I like getting our message out there. And for anybody that is listening, we are going to get back to bounty hunters and stuff like that, and Mandalorian lore and costuming. But we really wanted to take this show and just take a break and see what we could do with it. And I had a ton of fun with it, ton of fun. Um, and obviously, you can tell. I think Ken did too. So I think we're gonna maybe we'll have to do some lore videos and definitely get some more games and stuff like that in here too.
I think it'd be kind of fun too if we brought on a guest and did this with them instead of necessarily going into the depth of detail that we do, because we have the history behind the characters and stuff, just to do this rapid fire name game, because there are so, I mean, we did 26.
Yeah.
We know, I know, our fans know there are way more than 26 characters out there in the Star Wars galaxy, and we could have gone around this table 16 or 17 times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could do that with just the original trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even talk about Yularen, you know.
Right. Right. So yeah, I think that's fantastic. I mean, we're gonna do this again. Anything else you want to add before we
Other than
close?
the fact it was fantastic, I want folks to make sure that they check out your other shows. So
Oh,
tell everybody what those other shows are.
so almost forgot. My goodness. So my show is we talk about Warhammer and tabletop games at Table Ready Painting. We actually had Ken on just last week to do Warhammer 40K 101 since he's not very involved. And anybody that does go to listen to it, it's much longer than most of my episodes that I do by myself. We actually spent almost 2 hours talking about Warhammer. So if you are even interested in Warhammer 40K right now and you watch us, you might as well just shift right over there, go watch that, and then come back here. And if you haven't seen our earlier episodes, go back and do that. And if you still want to see more of me, God willing, if you still want to go see more of me, I am on Lake Clan Legends with my boys playing Dungeons and Dragons. They are actually currently in a castle that is sinking. So they are trapped underground in a castle, and things are not going well for them, as typical for that campaign.
Have there been any goats involved?
No goats at the moment.
Okay.
No goats at the moment. But it can always change.
Yeah, there's especially those old castles. Sometimes they'd have pens of goats to, feed the hunting dogs or to feed the residents of the castle.
Well, let's just say everything out on the outside of the castle is completely under mud.
Oh,
And
shoot.
so is some of the rooms inside the castle. So they are navigating an actual dungeon that used to just be a castle.
Man.
And they're doing pretty good with it. We're close to the end, but I don't want to give too much away.
Okay, very cool. I appreciate that secrecy, Mr. Dungeon Master.
Yeah. And how about you?
Does your Dungeon Master have a name?
No.
Oh, you're just a Dungeon Master.
I'm just the Dungeon Master. I'm just the narrator and
Okay.
creator.
Well, when I'm not hanging out with you on this show or the other show, Wednesday nights, you can find me hanging out with Mike Hinton. We host the Inflatable Falcon podcast. Sometimes our buddy John Scalise joins us, but lately it's just been the two of us. And then I also have my own show, the solo show, called Rambling Star Wars Fan, The Rambling Star Wars Fan. I'm getting ready to put the finishing touches on an episode. How do I describe it? It's really just a train of thought explaining why I like Star Wars using many, many examples. And I was recently invited to participate with the Bantha Milk podcast on Around the Dejeric Table. And if things go smoothly, I might be invited back for another episode of that. So,
that's very cool.
I want a couple podcasts out in the world.
Yeah. I really enjoy your podcast. I've been listening. I just started listening to Bantha Milk maybe a couple weeks ago. So, but they did a pretty good recap on Andor, and I've listened to the Round the Dejarik tables. I'm enjoying them as well. So
yeah, there's plenty of joy and fun and love to go around. So
right, there's plenty of Star Wars to be talked about.
yes, whether we're talking historic stuff like we've talked about, or getting ready to talk about future stuff, because you had mentioned, the new Darth Maul show that'll be coming out later this year. Plenty of things to talk about, plenty of things to get excited about, plenty of things to, as I like to say, enjoy about Star Wars.
Right, right. I just more.
Just more. And as the Mandalorians often like to say, this is the way.
This is the way.
Thanks,
Thank
Todd.
you.
I'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
Yep. Thank you.